So that was Animals by Pink Floyd. Wow, man. You know, just like the two previous albums, this one certainly did not disappoint. It took me on another far off trip somewhere, man. Dark Side of the Moon, they were singing about a mixture of things. A little bit about their former band member, and a little bit about corporate greed in the music industry and their struggles to try to be true to themselves, not compromise their own integrity. And then Wish You Were Here was focused a little bit more on their former band member, Syd Barrett. And this album here was deeper. It had some very strong words, very biting words, and I think it's addressing, again, maybe a lot of corporate corporate greed, I'll say. Maybe it's a part of the business that they're in. There's a lot of lots of disingenuous people. I had a feeling from one or two of the songs that they're addressing corrupt politicians. I got a feeling from one song that they're addressing an ex-wife who may be sold out for getting with a rich corporate kind of person. I think that was the Angry Rant song. That's what I'm gonna call it. And then there was a song addressing a weak person, a sellout, somebody who will just be led and not follow their own path, I think. And then the final song, I think it was a little bit of the song in the beginning, addressing some form of relationship. Something about the relationship being maybe shelter from disillusionment, shelter from the chaos outside of the relationship, maybe the chaos in the world, something like that. Yeah, one of the things I like about Pink Floyd that I've noticed is that they don't deal a lot with the general subject of love. It seems like they have a lot more topics to write about than just mere love. They're not just one-dimensional, talking about a broken heart all the time, or just, how much they love you, all of that sapient, corny stuff. They are addressing things on a much higher or deeper level. And I like that about them. I like the fact that they're not just a typical, band just singing about the typical average stuff. They are really, really taking you on a journey with them and singing about some very, very serious things. And they take you from, okay, this is where you are, this is where you're going, and this is where you're going to end up. And where you end up is dire, man. So that's the trip. That's, from beginning to end. I love that. I love that. And I can understand, once again, why a lot of you guys are telling me that I have to listen to these albums in their entirety to experience that journey, that trip. I get that. I get that. I never doubted it. I was just kind of like, damn, sitting through an entire album. But you know what, man? This flew by, and I didn't even realize that we were at the end. So that's like, what, an hour that just went by like that, man. Yo, this was quite something. But let me get off this real quick. I gotta get back to form here and follow my structure, or we're gonna be here for well over an hour. I like that, man. That was excellent. This third album definitely is on par with the other two. It measures up very, very well. And you can't force me to tell you which one that I like, because it's just, the variance is just so little. I like them all, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let's see, man. I'm going to Wikipedia here, man. And I'm just gonna give a quick read on the background of this awesome piece of work, this album. Pink Floyd, Animals, Wikipedia. Okay, here we go. So, Animals is the 10th studio album by English rock band Pink Floyd. It was released on the 23rd of January 1977 by Harvest Records in the UK and by Columbia Records in the United States. It's a concept album that provides a scathing critique of the social, political conditions of late 1970s Britain. Okay, that makes sense. And it presents a marked change in musical style from their earlier work. Animals was recorded at the band's Britannia Row studios in London. The album's cover image, a pig floating between two chimneys of the Battersea Power Station, was conceived by the band's bassist and lead songwriter Roger Waters, and was designed by longtime collaborator Storm Thorgerson. The album was released to positive reviews in the UK, where it reached number 2 on the UK albums chart. It was also a success in the United States, reaching number 3 on the US Billboard 200. It scored on US charts for half a year, and these steady sales have resulted in its certification by the Recording Industry Associates of America at 4 times platinum. That is a successful album, man. Concept. Loosely based on George Orwell's political fable Animal Farm, the album's lyrics describe various classes in society as different kinds of animals. Okay. The combative dogs, the despotic, ruthless pigs, okay, and the mindless and unquestioning herd of sheep. That all makes sense right there. Whereas the novella focuses on Stalinism, the album is a critique of capitalism and differs again in that the sheep eventually rise up to overpower the dogs. Okay, that's the uprising part I was thinking about, where they're stepping on their necks. And yeah, okay, now the dogs are dead. Okay. Right. The album was developed from a collection of unrelated songs into a concept which, in the words of author Glenn Povey, described the apparent social and moral decay of society, likening the human condition to that of mere animals. Wow. I wonder how this was received, man. Apart from its critique of society, the album is also a part response to the punk rock movement, which grew in popularity as a nihilistic statement against the prevailing social and political conditions, and also a reaction to the general complacency and nostalgia that appeared to surround rock music. Pink Floyd were an obvious target for punk musicians, notably Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols, who wore a Pink Floyd t-shirt on which the words "I hate" had been written in ink. I hate Pink Floyd. Lydon, however, has constantly said it was done for a laugh. He was a fan of several progressive rock bands of the era, including Magma and Vandergraaf Generator. Drummer Nick Mason later stated that he welcomed the punk rock insurrection and viewed it as a welcome return to the underground scene from which Pink Floyd originated. Release. Animals was released in the UK on the 23rd of January 1977 and in the US on the 12th of February. Thanks to the album and the band's back catalog, noted the Guinness Book of British Hit Albums, Pink Floyd bested ABBA for most weeks on chart in 1977, 108 weeks to ABBA's 106. NME called Animals, quote, one of the most extreme, relentless, harrowing, and downright iconoclastic hunks of music to have been made available this side of the sun. And melody makers Carl Douglas described it as an uncomfortable taste of reality in a medium that has become in recent years increasingly soporific. Man, where do these guys get these damn words? Rolling Stone's Frank Rose was unimpressed. Rolling Stone. Man. Rolling Stone's Frank Rose was unimpressed, writing, quote, the 1977 Floyd has turned bitter and morose. They complain about the duplicity of human behavior and then titled their songs after animals. Get it? Unquote. They sound like they've just discovered this. Their message has been pointless and tedious. Rolling Stone, man. Robert Christgau of The Village Voice gave the album a B+ rating, and found the negative reaction overly cynical, reasoning that the album functions simply as a piece of well-constructed political program music, lyrical, ugly, and rousing, all in the right places. And that is the background info of the album Animals. Critics. Music critics. They're a bit of a waste, aren't they? Music critics. I liken these people, music critics, I liken them to like a weatherman. Someone who gets paid very, very well and who's constantly giving you a wrong forecast, and never gets fired. Now, what is the basis and the foundation of their, I don't know. I just don't see them as being very necessary, you know what I mean? Justify your value, man. Or as an opposition or an opposing political party, no matter how good the prospect and the bill is, their goal is to oppose and obstruct. I guess music critics just wouldn't be valid if they gave glowing reports all the time, if they gave glowing praise all the time. They've got to cast shades and cast shadows just to stay relevant, just to be relevant. You know what I mean? So those music critics back then, I would love to catch up to them today, you know, beyond now the consequences of maybe possibly losing work or losing face or whatever it is, and ask them what their really honest, true opinion of the album is. I bet you it would be completely different. I bet you there'd be like, yeah, I really, really love it, but I had to color it up a little bit just to kind of maintain a certain kind of brevity, you know. I bet you. I don't know. I'm not impressed with music critics, just to be honest with you. Ever since I started this journey of looking into music and researching things, especially reading the accounts of Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, music critics are, oh man. I'm gonna bite my tongue right there and just continue. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm not even gonna finish that. Let me just go on to something important to talk about. This album was great, man. I really, it stands out a little bit more from the other two, being that it is more serious. It has more of a biting, scathing critique. And now I understand that animals represent certain classes of society, certain types of people, certain personas. And I was wrong about them addressing an ex-wife in an angry rant. I guess they're addressing just a certain group of people, rather. I was wrong about that. But the guy used the words Mary, so when I heard Mary, and when he called her an old bag, I thought that it was a woman. So maybe figuratively, it's just a group that he's addressing. Okay. Yeah, so this album has officially made me a fan of Pink Floyd. I'm beyond just checking into something because it's interesting, looking into something because a lot of people are asking me to. I am now officially a fan of Pink Floyd, and I'm really looking forward now to getting to know them more. This album did it. This album brought me in and has turned me into a fan. So I'm just looking at my notes now. What I'm going to do from here on in is, this is based on a promise. I'm going to do the album Echoes next, and then that's going to be followed by The Wall. And I realize that it's kind of going out of order somewhat, but what I've got loaded in the chute is Echoes next, and then after that it's going to be The Wall. And I'll do the same thing, react to the whole album in one sitting, you know, and go from there, just to have that whole experience. And I'm being told that that's what I should do, so that's how I'm going to follow it. And beyond my Pink Floyd reactions, I'm also going to, within the next week, get to David Bowie, Johnny Cash. I'm going to start my Led Zeppelin 2 reactions. I'm going to do Whole Lotta Love, the studio version. And then in a separate reaction video, I'm going to do the live version of The Song Remains the Same, right? So I don't know, maybe I'll do it back to back, I don't know, but there'll be two separate videos anyway. And then I'll I'll get on to my Canadian rocker series, and that's going to be featuring Neil Young. He's going to be the second after Rush, and then by that time it'll be time. By that time it'll be time for another installment of the Artist of the Month, Stevie Ray Vaughan, another double shot. So let me know what your recommendations for the double shot feature for Stevie Ray Vaughan is, and I'll definitely look into doing that. If your particular choice isn't used, I'll probably use it in another reaction. We've got a lot of month left, so I expect that I'll probably do another 3 or 4 more installments of Stevie Ray Vaughan reactions, Artist of the Month. So there's a lot of room for to fit in lots of songs. Anyway, man, back to Pink Floyd. I really enjoyed this album very much, and I'm officially a fan, and I look forward to getting even more acquainted with their stuff and their work. And thanks to everyone for sending me all of the information and giving me lots of write-ups of the background information. One person wrote me a 12-paragraph note on all of the information of Pink Floyd. So a lot of you guys have a tremendous amount of detail when you're writing. But in any case, man, I appreciate it because it's educating me. So I appreciate that. Knowledge is good. Anyway, man, I'm out of here. Thanks very much for sitting through. This is going to turn into definitely the longest reaction I've done. And it's being broken up into 3 parts, but I'll drop them all at the same time. All right. So next up, look for probably, I'm guessing, either my David Bowie or my Led Zeppelin reaction. Okay. Have yourselves a good day. Thanks for joining me on this trip, and I'll see you again in another reaction. Peace.